Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting this deep dive with a thought that is simultaneously bleak and incredibly empowering.
Right. It's a piece of Stoic advice from Marcus Aurelius. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. I mean, that's just a direct, almost jarring way to think about planning your future.
It is. And that quote, it beautifully frames our mission today, which is to really drill down on the wisdom of decision making. We
Mhm.
often think good judgment is just about, effective execution.
Getting from point A to point B.
Exactly. But good judgment really boils down to two things. First, there's effectiveness, knowing how to get what you want. But second, and this is crucial, there's wisdom knowing what is worth wanting in the first place. And that second part, well, that's the missing piece for most people.
I feel like we spend 95% of our time focusing on effectiveness. We'll read 1,000 articles on efficiency, negotiation, how to hit a quarterly goal.
Of course.
But those effective decisions don't necessarily lead to a life well lived. Precisely. And let's make that distinction really clear. An effective decision, it brings immediate, tangible results. You close a sale, you hit your monthly KPI, you save a percentage point on costs.
Sure.
But those decisions can easily run counter to things that truly matter long term. Things like building trust or fostering meaningful relationships or even just maintaining your long-term health.
Right. Like a CEO who implements these drastic cost-cutting measures. It maximizes short-term shareholder value, so it's effective.
Very effective.
But it just destroys team morale and long-term innovation. So it's not a good decision.
Not at all. A good decision has to be effective, but it also has to align with your long-term values and goals. It has to lead to the ultimate outcome you actually desire for your life.
So making the best judgments
Yeah.
means we have to constantly aim for that ultimate result, not just the first easy outcome.
And if you look at the source of almost all our regrets, it really stems from failing to prioritize that ultimate outcome. The worst regret is when we reach the end and realize we failed to live a life true to ourselves.
We failed to play by our own scoreboard.
That's it, exactly. We spend decades running on a track that was set up by someone else.
And our sources identify four major defaults that practically set us up for this kind of regret. They make us chase those external scoreboards. The first, and maybe the most pernicious, is the social default.
This is the inherited goal set. It's when we absorb goals and expectations from, our parents, our peers, social media.
General societal pressure.
Right. And their lives and circumstances are fundamentally different from ours. You find yourself chasing a high-status career in law or finance, not because you love the work, but because it owns you approval.
And that sounds an awful lot like the second one, the inertia default, but there's a subtle difference, isn't there?
There is. The social default is being stuck on someone else's path. The inertia default is being stuck on yesterday's path.
Ah, okay. So you chose a field of study in your early 20s because it felt right then, but now, a decade later, you're miserable.
Yes, but the switching cost feels too high. The mortgage is too big. The sunk cost in time and education is too great, so you stick with it out of momentum.
Then you have the emotion default, which is just constantly throwing us off course by prioritizing, well, momentary fancy over long-term goals.
The instant gratification trap. It's the spontaneous purchase that sabotages a savings goal, or the short-term burst of anger that jeopardizes a crucial long-term relationship. It's all about how you feel right now. And finally, the classic destroyer of happiness, the ego default, the relentless pursuit of wealth, status, and power, often at the expense of our own health and, critically, the well-being of the people around us. If you let any of these defaults run your life, the destination is almost guaranteed regret.
Reread that quote from Jim Collins, there is no effectiveness without discipline, and there is no discipline without character. How does character actually fend off something like the ego default?
Well, character is the foundation. It's the habit of making choices aligned with your deepest values, even when those choices are difficult or they cost you status or money in the short term.
So discipline is just the skill of delaying gratification.
Exactly. If you lack the character to resist the lure of external status, the ego default, or the discipline to withstand the pain of changing course, the inertia default, then all the strategic planning in the world is useless. You'll always revert to the easiest choice.
And the ultimate cost of letting that ego default take over is just perfectly captured by Charles Dickens' Ebenezer Scrooge.
Scrooge is the perfect embodiment of winning the game of wealth at the expense of life. And the genius of A Christmas Carol is when the ghost of Christmas future shows him his fate, his realization isn't about being poor.
No, it's about being irrelevant.
Utterly irrelevant.
Ugh.
He sees people who are actively pleased he's dead, stealing his things. That vision makes him realize he was playing by a purely transactional scoreboard, not one based on human connection.
But this isn't just fiction, right? It's a core psychological flaw we all face. We think that money or status or some new achievement will make us happy permanently.
And the moment we get it, we adjust. We need the next thing. That adjustment mechanism is the hedonic treadmill.
Right. The term from psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald T. Campbell.
Yeah. We achieve a goal, feel the euphoria, but then quickly, usually within a few weeks, we just revert to our previous base level of discontent. We've just shifted the goalposts.
We've all run on that treadmill. Think about getting your first car when you were 16. I mean, there was that initial euphoria, right? You drove it everywhere.
Yeah.
But then almost immediately reality sets in.
The costs, insurance, gas, maintenance.
But the real killer of that joy isn't even the cost. It's the comparison. You started comparing yourself not to people without cars, but immediately to people who had better cars.
Newer models, your amazing achievement just became your new normal, and you started focusing on the next efficiency. Comparison truly is the thief of joy.
We see this constantly in professional life with the promotion cycle. You fight for months, you get the title, you're on top of the world for what, a week?
If that. And then you're instantly comparing yourself to the new, higher status group, the directors, the VPs, and you just revert to your previous level of striving.
And this relentless cycle turns us into what you call happy when people.
Yes, people who treat happiness as conditional. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I get that next zero in my bank account. But happiness, by its very nature, can't be conditional.
Because the moment the when condition is met, it stops being a condition for happiness and just becomes the new status quo.
Yeah.
You've walked through a one-way door.
You lose all perspective, start taking the good things for granted, and automatically want more. It's a tragic cycle, and it's shown so vividly in that story of the hyper-competitive CEO you mentioned.
Oh yeah, the one who was constantly quoting Tywin Lannister. A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of a sheep. That's the one. He was relentlessly focused on his empire, treating people completely transactionally. And he definitely achieved that outward success. He was an avid golfer, always had a packed schedule, always networking. But when he finally retired,
He found something horrifying.
his schedule was empty. Those colleagues were suddenly busy, unavailable, or just stopped returning his calls.
It was a brutal, late realization. He had successfully climbed the ladder of wealth and status. He won that game, but he realized he'd been playing the wrong game entirely, at the expense of any meaningful relationships.
So if the conventional markers of success, money, status, power don't deliver lasting satisfaction, what is worth wanting? Where do we find that wisdom? Well, we turn to the people who have already finished the race, the elderly. The gerontologist Carl Pillemer went on this massive 7-year quest, collecting advice from older Americans.
Fascinating. So instead of asking venture capitalists, you asked the people who have actual hindsight. So what was their number one lesson? Their message was starkly simple. Life is short, not in some abstract sense, but in a functional one. Time is the ultimate scarce resource, and young people waste it. So they desperately want younger people to prioritize what is genuinely important today, not tomorrow.
Exactly. One man told Pillemer he would have had so much more time if he'd just learned that simple truth in his 30s instead of his 60s.
So what do they wish they had prioritized?
Relationships, above all else. They stress saying things now. Express gratitude. Offer forgiveness. Don't wait. Spend the maximum possible time with your children while they are still children.
And savoring the small pleasures, the daily things, not the big ticket items. Yes, the coffee on the porch, the walk in the evening. And they also consistently advise choosing your life partner carefully and making sure you work in a job you genuinely love.
And what's maybe more telling is the list of things they agreed didn't matter. What did they not regret?
This list is basically the antidote to the ego default. None of them regretted not getting more money. None regretted not being wealthier than their neighbors. And crucially, none regretted letting go of grudges.
Those things that consume us in the moment, status, money, revenge, they just vanish in hindsight. It's incredible how much mental energy we devote to things that are completely irrelevant.
And their single biggest regret.
Let me guess. Worry.
Worry. Unnecessary worry. As one person put it, worrying wastes your life. But the most important insight wasn't about specific actions, but about the internal mindset they adopted. Which brings us back to that key distinction. Happiness is a choice, not a condition. Exactly. It requires a daily conscious shift where you choose optimism over pessimism. You are happy in spite of external events. And this completes the circle right back to the Stoics.
Marcus Aurelius again.
Right. He taught that when an external event distresses you, it's not the event itself, but your judgment of it. And that judgment can be wiped out instantly.
This is so powerful because it means achieving wisdom isn't passive. It's an active decision. But the challenge is gaining that elderly perspective now.
And this is where we can use the ancient technique of memento mori. Remember, you must die. Seneca advised preparing our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life.
Let's try that thought experiment right now.
Yep.
Just imagine yourself at age 80, sitting on a quiet park bench. Everything external has faded away. What truly matters in that moment?
This mental shift is incredibly clarifying. It makes all the external expectations, all the pride, all the fear of failure, the stuff that feeds the four defaults, it just makes it fall away.
Like Steve Jobs said, remembering he'd be dead soon was the most important tool he had for making big life choices. It leaves only what is truly important.
It instantly avoids the trap of thinking you have something crucial to lose.
And it's fascinating how successful people actually operationalize this. Jobs had that daily ritual. He'd look in the mirror and ask, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today?
And a consistent no was his alarm bell. Jeff Bezos used a similar tool, his regret minimization framework. He projected himself to age 80 and realized he would regret not trying to start Amazon far more than he'd regret trying and failing.
Because the pain of failing to try, that's chronic. It never goes away. The pain of trying and failing is intense, but it's temporary.
Exactly. And when we look back from that 80-year-old perspective, we realize possessions only matter for the memories they enabled.
The family dinners around the chip table, the marks in the doorway measuring your children's height.
Not their investment value. You realize the tiny everyday moments matter exponentially more than the big prizes. It's all about valuing tiny delights over big bright lights.
That's the power of working backward. It's like solving a complex maze from the exit. Knowing the destination, who you want to be at 80, clarifies the path right now.
It reveals the gap between who we are and who we want to be. If you know you want to be healthy enough at 80 to engage with life, that wisdom demands that you start eating better and exercising now.
If you want to be remembered as a present parent, that wisdom requires you to cut back on transactional screen time today.
It forces you to make trade-offs that feel uncomfortable in the moment, but which the elderly confirm are priceless in the long run.
So let's bring this all home. What is the ultimate definition of good judgment that we've distilled from all this?
Good judgment is the wisdom to achieve what matters in life, not just what matters in the moment, by structuring your life with the end in mind. It's the ability to harmonize life's various parts.
Wise people recognize that real wealth isn't found by fixating on just one thing, like work or money. That just keeps you on the hedonic treadmill. True wealth is achieved by harmonizing all of it: work, health, family, friends, community. So if you want to develop this essential wisdom, you have to start by answering two questions. First, what do I want in life? And second, is what I want actually worth wanting? And until you've answered that second question, that question of ultimate value, all the decision-making advice in the world is, well, it's useless. You'll just be incredibly effective at achieving the wrong life.
There's very little profit in knowing how to get the things you want if those things won't make you happy in the end. A final thought to leave you with, something to mull over today. What seems to matter in the moment rarely matters in life. Yet if something truly matters in life, it should matter right now in this moment.